Is the Sonos Arc actually worth buying for the kind of user who wants a solid-state sound upgrade without turning the living room into a full home theater? I've been using it for a few weeks now, and I'm going to break down whether it lives up to the hype and who might get the most out of it. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the thing that stood out to me right away was how the Arc handles dialogue in movies and TV shows. I have a 55-inch LED TV in my bedroom, and the built-in speakers were always a little tinny. Plugging the Arc in via the HDMI eARC port gave me a noticeably clearer mid-range, so when a character says something important, it doesn't get lost in the background noise. That's a real win for anyone who watches a lot of narrative content and wants the speech to be crisp without having to crank the volume. Another practical benefit is the way Sonos has built its connectivity. The Arc runs over Wi-Fi, which means there's no need to hide a bunch of cables behind the TV. You just connect the power cord, hook up the HDMI cable, and the system shows up in the Sonos app. From there, you can control volume, bass, or even toggle the speech enhancement with a few taps. That simplicity makes it a good fit for folks who aren't tech-savvy but still want a reliable setup that just works when they turn the TV on. If you're already invested in the Sonos ecosystem, the Arc plays really nicely with your existing speakers. I have a Sonos One in the kitchen, and after adding the Arc, I could group the 3 rooms together and stream the same music throughout the house. It's not just about movies, you can have a synchronized soundtrack for a dinner party or have background music while you're cooking. The multi-room capability is something you don't get from most soundbars, and it turns a single purchase into a hub that can expand over time. Voice control is another feature that shows up in everyday use. The Arc comes with built-in microphones that let you ask Alexa or Google Assistant to change the volume, switch to a different input, or even dim the lights if you've got a smart bulb set up. I found myself saying, "Alexa, lower the volume" during a late-night movie without having to fumble for a remote. The hands-free aspect is subtle, but it adds a layer of convenience that makes the whole experience feel more integrated. Design-wise, the Arc's sleek black finish blends into most living room decor without calling too much attention to itself. It's long enough to span a 65-inch TV, but it doesn't look oversized. The touch controls on the top are recessed, so they're there when you need them but don't stick out like a set of buttons. I've had a few friends comment that it looks like a premium piece of furniture rather than a piece of tech. The soundstage itself is surprisingly wide, thanks to the 3-way speaker array that Sonos built into the unit. While it's not a true Dolby Atmos setup with ceiling speakers, the Arc does a decent job of bouncing sound off the walls to create a sense of height. In practice, that means you get a bit of that big screen feeling when you watch an action movie, without having to install extra speakers. It's a neat middle ground for anyone who wants more immersion than a typical 2.0 soundbar but isn't ready to invest in a full-blown surround system. Reliability is also worth. For most buyers, the real question is not whether Sonos Arc Gen 1 Black sounds impressive on paper, but whether strengths like connectivity technology and included components actually make daily use feel easier, more dependable, and more worthwhile after the first few days of excitement wear off. It is also smart to think about long-term satisfaction. A product like Sonos Arc Gen 1 Black usually feels like the better buy when it stays convenient, comfortable, and reliable in normal everyday use instead of only looking good in the listing.